Hey guys, what's up? I'm Mike, he's Ryan, and this is Eggs.
This is eggs. This is eggs. This is eggs.
Get all the eggs. Get all the eggs.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Eggs Show. We're here for a Hawaiian edition, broadcasting from the other side of the world again. Well, I should say, except for poor Mike.
Yeah, I'm stuck in Idaho and you're in Hawaii. That's not cool.
Yeah, does that work out, right? Yeah, so anyway, we're over in Hawaii. We've been here 4 days now and having a good time. The weather's great and everything. But we're out here traveling with a friend of mine, and we're going to have him on the show today. He's an interesting guy. So his name is Arni, and we're going to talk lots of good stuff. So Arni, say hello to the people.
Hello to the people.
Cool. So anyway, this experience, this has actually been my first time going out to Hawaii.
Do you like it?
And I've never been here before. It is cool. For me, it feels like an island-based version of San Diego. And so it's, beautiful. I mean, San Diego's one of my favorite cities, and so that's a compliment, by the way. And so, but we began our trip out in Oahu. Is that where Honolulu is?
Yes.
And so we started our trip in Honolulu. We were just there for a couple of nights, but that was a cool thing. I mean, my first experience in Hawaii was, I don't even really know how to describe it. We got in really late, and felt late for me because of the time change. It was like 9 o'clock locally, but that was like 2 or 3 a.m. in Utah. And so we, got to the hotel and immediately crashed, but we stayed at this place. It's called I'm so bad with the Hawaiian names. So, but we'll just call it the Ilikai.
Ilikai, yeah.
Ilikai. And so the Ilikai, I guess, in World War II was a admiral's quarters. Like, it was the place where they would send like the high-ranking military officials during the war. And so my wife's grandfather, when he was in the war, always wanted to stay at this place, but he never had high enough rank to stay there. And so now it's just a hotel, but we were able to stay there. So it's kind of a little, tip of the cap to Grandpa. Also,
is that on the same island as like the Polynesian Culture Center and Pearl Harbor?
Yeah, same place. And we had talked about going there, but God, it was just so much more to do and not a lot of time to do it. And so the next day after being there, we went to Pearl Harbor, which is, I don't know. I mean, it was a really cool thing to see, but it's a lot like visiting a cemetery or something. I mean, it's a very solemn place, and it's beautiful, and it's a really cool thing. Not the exhibit, but the
memorial.
Yeah, the memorial itself is really nice, and it's a cool place to see. And so I highly recommend it to anybody. However, I will say that, I don't know, like, we didn't take a lot of pictures. We didn't do a lot of, it just felt like weird to do that there.
Yeah. Well, I've been to in DC, the National Cemetery there. Same kind of vibe, I'm sure. It's just it's out of more respect into actually, just you don't want to be the tourist. You're there, you're seeing it, but it's not, I don't know. You just kind of have this level of
I guess it's
respect.
A reverence or something for it.
Well, it's like selfie guilt, right? Like, you don't want to be that guy that's taking a selfie, like, hey, guys.
Well, yeah. Especially 5 minutes after they just told you that, like, the bodies of the men are still in the ship beneath you.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I want to be that asshole hanging out the window with my selfie stick, And so it's, I don't know. So it was a weird experience. I mean, I'm glad we went, but I don't know. It's not exactly Disneyland. So anyway, so the next day we caught a flight to the Big Island of Hawaii, which I, not knowing my geography very well, didn't realize that Hawaii and the Big Island of Hawaii were two different things. So there's Hawaii, the state, which makes up all of the islands. And then there's Hawaii, the big island, which is where we are now. So we're calling you direct from Kona, which is on the, I don't know, south side?
Well, we're the west coast of
West coast
island,
of the
west
big
side
island.
of the island.
Yeah, I have family on the Big Island, but I've never actually been there. I've heard it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it's cool.
Like
It's a really chill place
All
versus
volcanoes.
versus like Honolulu, for example. Honolulu is just a big city. And so, there's a lot of stuff going on there, but I mean, it's a big city. It's like Miami or something, except for all Japanese and Chinese
Yeah,
people instead
yeah.
of South American folks. And so, so it was cool, but it was kind of, what you would expect of a big city. So, but the Big Island is, I mean, it's the biggest of the islands, and it's got a really small population, relatively speaking. I think there's 175,000 people or something on this island. And so the cities are pretty small. I don't know how many exactly are here in Kona, maybe 60, 70,000. But it's not a big city. And the whole attitude of the people and everything is pretty low. It's like people move slow here. And so anyway, so it's been kind of interesting.
There's actually a term for it. It's called island life.
Yeah, right.
I mean, like in Guam, it was the same way. In the Philippines, everyone just kind of takes their time. They just do their thing.
Yeah, we keep making jokes every time traffic's shitty or whatever. We are always saying, "Oh, they're on island time."
Yep.
So yeah. Anyway, so yesterday was that yesterday? Time is like mushing together for me. We went over to the other side of the island. We went to Hilo, and I actually did try and catch up with that. There's a band that we talked about on an earlier episode called OK to Change, and those guys live there in Hilo and are in town, so I'm trying to catch them. And we had hoped to do a podcast with them or something, but I don't know. With my kind of limited selection of gear here, I don't know if I could pull it off. But anyway, we're going to try and catch up with him maybe. And but while we were there, we joined a tour group with Arnie's wife. Her dad runs a travel company, and he was here giving a tour of the volcanoes here. And
nice.
It was a really cool opportunity to pile on a bus, and they took us. I guess first we went to the falls,
Akaka Falls.
Hakaka Falls, Hakaka Falls,
Akaka.
Hakaka Falls, like Akaka.
Yeah, Akaka.
And so we went to the falls, and it was gorgeous. I mean, it was really cool. The jungle, I think one of the things that's been most surprising for me is how dense the jungle is.
Yeah.
Because it's really dense. Like, I mean, if you're lost in there, you're just gone. And so, but the waterfall was really impressive and huge and, really cool thing to see. So after that, they took us over to the volcano, which has yet another Hawaiian name that I can't remember. I should look some things up. But anyway, they've got an active volcano here that's been erupting since 1983. And so we took a tour up there, and you can actually go up to the top. From where we were sitting, you couldn't see down into it. So you couldn't actually see the lava or the magma doing anything. But it is down there doing stuff, and you can see the smoke and everything coming off of it. And they actually have right now, there's a bunch of lava flowing that's like meeting the sea. And so it's, making this really, it's making a really exciting, light show, because you got fiery stone coming out of the mountain and it's going into the ocean. So it's, really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's funny. We were in Hilo, and we were going to go out to this place where the lava's meeting the sea. And before we went out there, we stopped for dinner. We ate at this Thai restaurant, which I wish I knew the name of, because they should get a shout out or 5 stars on Yelp or something.
I'm going to look that up right now.
How does it compare to the one we had in Seattle?
I don't know. That one in Seattle is pretty good. But this place was excellent, super authentic. Arnie Lay is a little bit of a foodie, and he signs off on this one as being one of the top few he's ever had.
It's called Naumai Thai Kitchen.
Naumai Thai Kitchen in Hilo, Hawaii. And so if you're ever on the Big Island, go there for sure. It's just it's a cute little restaurant. I mean, there's probably only room for 10 or 12 people in there, but it's really, really good. And so anyway, we were talking to our waitress. She's from Chicago. And while we were talking to her, we mentioned to her, hey, we want to go to this lookout where you can go see the lava meeting the water. And she's like, oh, yeah, no, it's, it seems like a really cool thing. You should go out there. And we're like, well, how far is it? And so they told us, it's in this town. It's about 45 minutes away, and you can go, see where the lava's coming out. And so we started to plan, okay, we'll run out. It'll be really cool to go see that. It's just 45 minutes. And then after dinner, we were just like, we're kind of done, so we wanted to go to bed. So we drove back home. It took us an hour and a half to cross the island and come home. And we just went to bed. We figured we'd go another day. So I get online this morning and I start looking up information about this thing. And it is in a little town 45 minutes south of Hilo. But the part that she left off was that it's an 11-mile hike in to see it and 11 miles back out. So you're talking
good luck with that.
22-mile round trip to walk in and see this thing.
Nope.
Yeah, so suddenly we're not that excited to go see it. So, okay, and I looked it up. The volcano was called Kilauea? This is what it
I have no.
Kilauea.
Kilauea. Yeah, because it sounds like killer whale. That's right.
Yeah, Kilauea.
That's what the guys were saying.
So, yeah, I am struggling here, man. I mean, maybe it's because I've never been to Hawaii or had that much.
Well, it's a whole different kind of type of speaking. It's entirely different. It's like
well, I mean, like Spanish or something I'm used to, or kind of Latin based. I could maybe work with and handle, but this is like I don't even know how to say the words. I don't read well enough to read them.
Well, and I'm sure there's random weird accents or ways of saying
there's
like
an apostrophe every third letter.
Yeah.
No, it's impossible.
So I don't know if
I'm struggling big time with that.
So there's a food truck that I saw on Guys Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives that's based out of Hawaii. It's called Maui Fresh, and it's in a place called Kahului, Kahului. I don't know.
The Polynesians are going to rise up against this.
Anyways. The food looked legit, and I wanted to take a trip to Hawaii just to try it. So
just to try
that out. So.
Yeah, I haven't seen any food trucks here, but like I said, this place is pretty sleepy. I mean, we've gone like sort of I guess to downtown, and I mean, there's some tourists walking around and stuff, but it's not crazy. And I mean, I guess this isn't prime tourist season or whatever, but still, this is you have to fly to this island from Honolulu. So if you come to Hawaii, you've got to make a special trip to get here.
Oh yeah, this isn't on the Big Island. It's a smaller one next to it. So never mind.
Well, next time we come, we'll have to
tried.
So yeah, I don't think this time around we're going to make it. So, but anyway, so it's been a bit of a feat. Unfortunately, fortunately in real life, but unfortunately for the show, we didn't have any drama getting out here or anything to talk of. I mean, we got right through security, no problems, no problems on the flights. So nothing exciting to cover there. So, but in the meantime, while we've been basking on the beach, what have you been up to, Mike?
Oh, man. My life has been crazy the last week or two. Winter's coming, and that rock wall project that I've been working on is kicking my butt. So when we started this rock wall, we ordered the rocks through a quarry that's not very far away from Pocatello. And we start building the wall. We get halfway done. We run out of rock. So we call this guy up to order some more. He's dead.
Oh.
He died. And so now the business is in probate, and we can't get anything because I guess it's stuck, right? So all the rock I need is sitting there in
That's fantastic.
in the lot, and we went and we actually had it all picked out and everything, and we went to order it. That happened. So now I'm literally driving up in the mountains, loading up rock in the back of my truck that I find just on the side of the road, trying to get enough rock to finish this rock wall. And I've been doing a load every day for the last week, and I think I finally have enough to get it done.
Yeah, so that was not considerate of that guy to die on you like that.
No, how dare he die in the middle of the project?
Yeah, it's like he didn't consider you at all.
I know, what the hell. But it's been a lot more work than it needed to be. We were waiting because we thought maybe, probate will get worked out and we'll be able to get some rock before winter came, and now we're a month away, and the backyard's going to be just a complete nightmare if we don't do something. So I've been doing that, chopping firewood and all sorts of fun stuff just to get ready for winter. While at the same time...
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say that we're having more fun.
Yeah, shut up. It actually snowed in Pocatello the other day, by the way. Not much, just a little bit, though.
Be careful. I just might not come back.
Yeah.
I'll just buy a mic and stay here.
Coming from Hawaii for the rest of the winter.
And I'm not looking forward to it.
So I also went and that big website project I'm working on.
Oh, that's right.
I went and I have a tutor now. I have a friend from high school that actually is he works full time as a web developer, and he's kind of taken me under his wing. And I had our first kind of like sit down meeting kind of thing the other day, actually yesterday, and he essentially told me I'm doing it all wrong and we're starting over again. So.
Oh no!
Yeah, well, I'm not doing it all wrong, but the like Bootstrap and everything, PHP and MySQL and everything is kind of not the way that they're doing it these days. Most of the apps and stuff that are being put out are JavaScript and through a thing called React, and React is it's a script library for building like user interfaces and apps and stuff like that. And it's entirely different, but it's similar. I've been studying JavaScript for a while now, and so I kind of have an understanding of it. And essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to take the existing project that I've worked on, and we're going to be, cutting the elements that I need out of it and just building it the right way. So essentially I've done a lot of the work, but I didn't do it right. So
yeah, well, because you've already done UI and all that stuff. Is it just you're using an older technology?
Well, Bootstrap is older. It's not, most browsers don't need it to be defined anymore. Like I guess React has its own kind of thing where the scalability and all that is. I don't know enough about it yet to talk like I do, but supposedly it's easier to just kind of cut the elements that I've already built out of the site that I've built. Because user interface and all that stuff is done to an extent, but the functionality part of it is where React's going to come in, and it would be easier to just kind of take parts and pieces and pull it into there and start again. And then I have a lot of bloated code, like a lot of CSS that I don't need, a lot of stuff that I was working on at one point and then changed my mind and went another way, but is still tied up in the code. So it's kind of like, it's better to just start with a fresh canvas and do it right. And so it'll be interesting to see how it goes, but I'm excited and I'm nervous at the same time. So,
well, cool.
Yeah.
So, do you have any kind of delivery date, or when can we start talking about this thing in public?
Well, we've talked about it a lot, but I'm not telling any details.
Well, that's what I mean. When can we start talking details?
Not for a minute. I honestly don't know how long it's going to take me. It's turned into such a nightmare that's I'm kind of like. Now it's a challenge for me, and so now I'm just doing it out of spite more than anything else, And so I've been working about 3-4 hours a day on it, and he said if I focus on learning this React software and getting better with JavaScript, that it shouldn't go more than 7-8 months, hopefully. But I honestly don't. I've said 6 months before, and then it turned into 2 years, and then it's still going. So who knows?
I think
You got to set some deadlines, son.
I think you could probably learn to play the violin before you learn JavaScript.
Well, okay, so here's the issue with getting into this industry and not going through like a course or going through like like a camp or something like that. I've been messing around with this for 2 years now, teaching myself HTML, Bootstrap, a little bit of SQL stuff, a little bit of, just CSS, basic things that, to do a static site, you're fine. But when you get dynamic and you get to actual coding instead of just layout work, it's entirely different. And there's so many different, I didn't even know I needed to learn JavaScript. I didn't know what the hell JavaScript was. And then through the process of building this project, I figured out, oh, that's huge. That's something that's most every site has in it. And it's something that it's key. It handles all the functionality of the site. And so the biggest problem is knowing what to study and what steps to take in what order. And that's been, I've done a lot of excess work that I didn't need to do if I would have known what to do in the first place. But at the same time, it's a learning curve. It's I've always gone to school through the school of hard knocks.
Well, and that's the thing. And there's not really any time wasted. I mean, you're still learning how to develop, and those different skills will be useful for different things. So it's not wasted energy.
And that's what I told him too. Is like, ideally this project will be a stepping stone to me, maybe getting into a career doing this. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be DJing. I don't know how much longer, I'm going to even be relevant, And so it's nice to have fallback. It's nice to have a backup plan because, if Center Street closes or who knows what the future holds in store. And so if I at least have something that I could, go and get a 9-to-5 job and have some retirement and have, something lined up like that, A, I get my site done in the process of learning it, and B, I now have a badass site as a portfolio to get me a good day job. So hopefully, anyways.
Cool. All right. Well, let's transition. So this show sort of began life as a travel show. So let's bring Arnie Lay back in and let's talk travel. So this dude, as part of his work, which we're not going into, he's might be a spy, might be something else. We don't know. We're just not going to talk about it. And so anyway, he is responsible for traveling a lot, especially in Latin America, and also with his family, with his wife. They travel a lot. And so he's got funny stories. He's got all kinds of things that have gone on in his life. So pointers and things to avoid, all that good stuff. So I'm a big South America fan. I like Mexico. Arnie Lay, let's talk Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want to talk about?
Where's your favorite place to go down there? I've been to Cabo. I've been to Puerto Penasca, Rocky Point area down just south of Phoenix, and I've heard horror stories there of just people crossing down to do some stuff they shouldn't. And I had a buddy roll his car in Rocky Point, and he didn't have the Mexican insurance on it, so he pretty much totaled the car and couldn't pay for it.
Oh crap!
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But
the funny thing about Mexico, and it's funny you ask that question. The first thing I ask people is how, before you want to go down to Mexico, you really need to give yourself a check and see how good your Spanish is, because that can really get you out of a lot of situations and help you with navigating everything down there.
Just for example, just
here's an example. So if you Ryan and I and our wives, we were on vacation. When did we go to Cabo?
God, it's been 3 or 4 years now, I guess.
Yeah, so we went and we got this
Cabo also, by the way.
Yeah, we got this great hotel. Everything was fine, and we went to these great restaurants. We ate a lot of great food, and it was a wonderful trip. But I remember one time we were just we're by this taco place or something, and just out of curiosity, I think Ryan went and asked the guy. He's like, "Oh, how much to rent a surfboard?" You know, and the guy's like, "Oh, that'll be $100 American, you know, for the day." And I think Ryan was like, "Oh yeah, well, you know, whatever." And I you know, not to brag, but I you know, Spanish was my first language, and I speak pretty good Spanish. And I went up to the guy. I was like, "Oh, come on, man! Like, what do you mean $100? What can you do for a fellow Mexican?" Which was a lie. I'm not Mexican. And the guy's totally like, "All right, 200 pesos," which
like
comes out to like,
$20.
yeah, less than 20, I think, at the time. And it was just like, it was so, like, it dawned on me. I'm like, oh, there's no, like, you really need to speak Spanish if you go to Mexico or this kind of thing. You're just it's gonna be a pitfall for you everywhere you go.
In the Philippines, we called it white tax.
Yeah, white tax.
You know, we when we were driving around, we were told that if we got pulled over, because they look for people, they look for Americans, and they try and kind of like, "Oh, you're in trouble, and you better pay me now," kind of thing. We were told to wait till they got off their little scooter, their moped thing, and drive away, because they're literally just they're literally just pulling you over to try and grease you and get some money out of you, and that's pretty much it. And so I never did that.
It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing. So I actually got to live in Mexico for a little while. I was working with a company down there, just helping them get their business going and doing some sales and that kind of thing down there for them. And you know, it was like, it got to the point that almost every day these guys were like pulling me over and being like, "Hey, you know, you broke the law." Eventually, I just started pretending like I didn't speak Spanish. And they get so frustrated, they just be like, just
go. Just get out of here. Go.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So before we got on the mic, we were talking a little bit about something to do with some narcos, a narco story.
Yeah, so I lived in a place called Culiacan, Sinaloa, and Culiacan is like, that's where like Chapo Guzman is from. That's where like all these super famous narcos are all born and raised.
Huh.
And what's funny is it's a dangerous place. I think if you just show up or if you're trying to score a kilo of cocaine, I think it'd be a pretty dangerous place. But if you're just there to kind of see the sights and hang out, it's pretty safe. But you know, there was a couple times you kind of have to understand the narco culture. And if you can understand that, you can stay pretty much under.
So
the
can I just
radar.
watch that HBO series? And I'm
One
good?
time we're like, you know, we're having dinner. A customer and I were just having dinner, and in come these guys, these armed guys, and they tell everybody, "Hey, you know, everybody needs to give us their cell phones and their wallets." You know, and at this point, I'm like, okay, well, I lived a good life. That was cool. You know, I guess this is how I die. And so the guy goes and he says, "Oh, you know," and in walks some guy. I had no idea who this guy was, and he sits down with his model girlfriend, and they sit down and they have a glass of wine and a steak, and everybody in the restaurant is as pale as a ghost, and they finished their meal. They thanked the people around them. They got up and left. The guys give us back our wallets and our cell phones, and they're like, "Hey, your meals are all paid for," and they left. And we just...
So he comped your meals too. That's cool.
Oh, he paid for everybody's meal, but I needed money for my therapist bill, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember the first time I went to Mexico, I was maybe 17 or 18. And I guess 17 because I was still in high school. And we went down for spring break to Mazatlan. And while we were down there, you know, sort of like Arnie's saying, you know, if you go down there looking for trouble, you can find it. But, you know, me and my friends, we were avoiding that kind of stuff. But we were with a group of people who had gone to a restaurant. And it was the year of the election down there where Vicente Fox was becoming president. And before he was president, but when he was being or was up for election. And I guess Vincente's lawyer was having dinner at one of the restaurants where a bunch of our friends were staying or were eating. And same thing, narco dude comes in, except for in this case, he identified the lawyer and then he opened fire. So he just started shooting up the restaurant. And at first, a lot of the people in there thought it was a show or something. For the white people, they were putting it on or something. And this friend of ours was telling me, he's like, yeah, but he's like, I thought it was all kind of fun, and we didn't know how to react until like a bullet came to our table, and then we were like, oh damn! Like all of a sudden, it got real. And so, everybody hit the ground and stuff, and they basically pulled off a hit on this lawyer. They did end up killing the guy, and then it is.
So now, before we go any further, let's for those narcos that are out there listening to this that might possibly put a hit on us, let me be very clear about something. Mexico is a very safe place. It's one of my favorite places to travel to. I travel there probably 2 or 3 times a month, and it is a wonderful country full of wonderful people that are just. They'll give you the shirt off their back if they can help you. It's a great place to go. You asked my favorite places. Every city in Mexico has something unique and beautiful about it, whether it's a cathedral built on an Aztec temple, whether it's a gorgeous ocean view, whether it's a really, really local, delicious type of food. I mean, anybody that speaks semi-okay decent Spanish should absolutely go to Mexico and have a great time and be perfectly safe.
And I will say, because I've been learning Spanish, but even without it, you're still safe to go down there. You're maybe more able to get yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
But, stick to the resort stuff. You'll be okay. But still, any opportunity to go to Mexico, you should go.
When I went to Cabo, we kind of went north a little bit off the point and kind of hung out in some of the smaller cities and checked some stuff out. And one of the shops there, it was just north of Cabo, like a half an hour north or whatever. We went to this little shopping district, and I was probably, 10, 11 at the time. And I walked into this store and looking at just something in the back room, and all of a sudden I hear this commotion up at the front. And some dude came in and just like clocked this dude, and they started brawling right in the front of the store, and I couldn't get out. I was stuck in the back area, and at 11 years old, I'm thinking, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Dude's it looked like his nose got broke, and blood everywhere, and my mom's losing her shit outside, like, where's my kid? It was pretty cool, but the way I've traveled a lot, and I've never had any issues being a tourist or where targeted for some reason other than like the police or whatever in the Philippines. But as long as you're not looking for like shady stuff and trying to get yourself in that situation, and you're just a tourist, they're used to it. There's a lot of tourists that go down to Mexico, so I think you're fine.
I think if you asked me what was one of the places that I love the most, one of the coolest places, if you don't want to, if you want to sit on a beach and drink Mai Tais, that's fine. But I think one of the coolest places in Mexico is a city called Guadalajara. Guadalajara is a beautiful, wonderful city, and if any listeners out there are interested in going to a city in Mexico and just falling completely in love for a city, that's between that and Mexico City itself, there's so much to do. Anybody that goes down there for a day or two would be time well spent. Those are fantastic cities in Mexico.
Well, so speaking about Mexico City, they recently had a big earthquake, but I think Arnie's been there since.
Yeah, we without saying too much, we had some friends, actually, some customers and colleagues that died, that were killed in that earthquake. Man. And it's very real. They do not do it justice as far as the impact it's had on the city itself and on everything that's going down there. There's a lot of people in need. There's a lot of, but one really cool thing is all the Mexicans have this incredible pride in being Mexican, and this incredible notion of camaraderie when these kind of bad things happen. And let me tell you, there are people that are just coming together and donating and helping, and all these people help to uncover buried people. And when it was a rescue effort, and when it was a cadaver search, whatever it was, I mean, Mexico, the people there are so united and so it's incredible. I wish we had something more like that here in the U.S.
I think we do to an extent, but like the Las Vegas tragedy from just recently, you saw everyone lining up to donate blood, and I think it comes down to in traumatic situations, people just kind of naturally help out. I was listening to a book the other day, and they were saying that most of the people they were talking about an earthquake or something in South America, and he said that the cadaver dogs, it took like 30 hours for them to get down there, and by that time, most of the people that were buried, they'd already died. They don't have enough time to get the cadaver dogs down to look for them. So most of the recovery efforts and the people saving and taking care of people were people on scene that aren't even paramedics and aren't even trained, but they're just there to help out. They're there because they're in the same situation and people need help, and it just kind of takes over. So
yeah,
but.
Yeah, no, it's true. Well, and I mean, really, that's a big part of all the problem in Mexico City and throughout Mexico and or South America. When this type of thing happens, is just the infrastructure is not great. The old style of building and construction that they use down there.
They don't even have the
concrete roofs and stuff.
They don't have the same kind of guidelines that are required to build in America. In the Philippines, same way. They'll make their cinder blocks out of sand and concrete, and they'll make them purposefully thinner so they can get more bricks per. They're not using as much concrete in the brick as they should to make it stable. They make more. They try to get more bricks out of it,
so they can get more bricks,
and it
out
makes
with the same amount of material.
The buildings really brittle. So if something happens, I mean, it'll take out the whole city. Tacloban got hit by a hurricane. I think it was a hurricane, like 5 or 6 years ago, and it just devastated the whole city because there's no building code. There's no requirements that make them build them strong. And so,
well, and that's the sort of thing you hear about with Chile, with Haiti, a lot of these places, and Puerto Rico recently also, all these places that have just been devastated by weather or whatever. And a big part of that is infrastructure. They just, they didn't build things in a forward-thinking kind of way, and now they're paying for it. And it's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, being a foodie.
Well, that's depressing.
Yeah.
We're all depressed. Let's go.
I was going to segue into you're a foodie, so you travel a lot. Is there a what's your deal with that? Tell me about that.
Oh man, I'm surprised that I'm not morbidly obese because of all the places that I get to go and eat at. I travel for business, so I get to go to the best hotels and eat the best food and that kind of thing. I think it's kind of a dream job, but I mean, what do you want to know? I mean, every country in Latin America and in Europe has something that's just fantastic. One more than the other, and it's all about what you want to get into.
American Mexican food isn't anywhere near to what it is in like Latin America and getting the authentic food. Oh, yeah. Is there is it regional? Is there a better thing to eat in one place than another, or is there I'm not close enough to it.
So little known fact: almost every city or state in Mexico has something that they're famous for. Most of the time, it's an unknown type meal or some kind of dish or something that they're famous for that not a lot of people know about. One of the so if you go to for example, if you're in Mexico and you go to Puebla, which is just kind of south of Mexico City, you will find yourself in mole country,
Yeah.
right? So that's the
chocolate sauce.
best. The best mole in Mexico is going to be in that, but that's what they're known for, right? And then if you go to the west coast to like Sinaloa, you're going to get the state of Sinaloa. You're going to get phenomenal seafood. There's also in if you go to if you go to Guadalajara, the state of Jalisco, they obviously are famous for their tequila, and they're famous for their something called carnes en su jugo, which is a very delicious soupy meat with beans thing with tortillas. I mean, everywhere you go in Mexico, and what I try and do when I travel, not just Mexico but in Latin America, I say, hey, well, what do you guys eat? What's
love
good here?
doing
What's
that.
famous? And man, you can eat some really great meals down there.
Yeah, well, and shout out to the fine folks in Oaxaca. Their cheese is the best. So
Yeah.
I love myself some Oaxaca cheese.
Oaxacan cheese, yeah, it's a
It's
very
so good.
staple down there.
So you travel, I mean, more than just Mexico. You travel into South America, all the way down to Peru, Chile, Brazil.
Yep.
Got any fun stories or anything cool to see in those parts of the world? I mean, I'm pretty familiar with Mexico,
Yeah.
and for Americans, that's probably a little more common.
The best, I would say the country with the best food, bar none, and this might surprise some folks, is Peru.
Really?
Peru has an incredible influence of Asian and indigenous and African and Spanish fusion foods, and every restaurant, along mixing that with the combination of the coastal city. Lima is on the coast. You get some of the most incredible, interesting, fantastic flavors and tastes and food varieties that you could ever have anywhere.
Why do you think that is? Just
So part of it, I think part of it is Peru is a country where there's a large indigenous population. There's also a Spanish population that came, and there was also a big influx of Asians, Chinese and Japanese that came to live in Peru. And throughout all these years, they've kind of brought their cultures and their flavors. One of the things that they have there is arroz chaufa, which chaufa, I'm pretty sure it comes from the Chinese word of charfeng, which eat food. And those Chinese speakers out there can probably correct me, but it has something to do with like eat food or let's eat. Something like that, and it's just this like mix of like rice with, it's pretty much stir fried rice, but the way that it brings all these flavors together, it's fantastic. And then you've got the indigenous people that have like one of the famous dishes is lomo saltado. That's kind of a fusion of the two cultures. There's they have these special potatoes that are grown at the high altitudes. There's these little yellow potatoes. There's these little these other potatoes that are like a starchy, I forget, it's called like papa huancaína or camote. I mean, there's all kinds of different things. You've just, if you're a foodie, your number one first stop if you're going to Latin America has to be Lima.
Okay.
Has to be
I'll have
Peru.
to try that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would love to get down there sometime.
Let's go,
Unfortunately, I
bro.
don't have a lot of call for Lima, but
Yeah.
but that's all right. We can make
We
something
can make
up.
a
Let's
trip
go.
down there just to try the food. You don't need to have work. Just go down there.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a live podcast from Lima.
Well, there if you want to go down to Lima, there's a lot of if you get to Lima, it's not a far. You can take a quick plane, hop, skip, and a jump, I guess, to Machu Picchu. It's not very far. It's geez, I can't remember the name of the city you fly into. It's not Arequipa. It's oh man, it'll come to me. But you fly into that city. You could fly into Lima. Most of the flights will get you there at night, and then you can have the next day or two or three or however long you want to stay to go and taste some of these foods in Lima and taste some of these flavors, and then you go up to and then you can catch a flight and go up to Machu Picchu for a couple days and go see
Nice.
what that is.
So, do you cook at all, or do you just enjoy eating other people's food?
I do. I love to cook.
This guy makes mad Cuban food.
Ooh,
So for people who don't know, which is everyone, I guess, Arnie is a hybrid of Brazilian and Cuban. He's born in the States, but he's from both Cuban and Brazilian descent. And so he's got family on both sides and is, really great with both of their cuisines.
I actually I have some hobbies too. Like we cook the Cubans. We cook pigs. We cook them a little different. We cook them in a cajachina, which is kind of like a Cajun oven or like it's like a convection oven. I don't know.
Yeah, it's it's a box that you cook your pig in. But it's
Cusco is the city. Sorry, that just came to me. Cusco, you fly from Lima to Cusco, and then Cusco you go up to Machu Picchu.
Well, and I'm kind of a purist, so I'll only go by llama. But if you guys want to do Lima by llama, then come on.
Lima by llama.
Lima by llama. That's a great name for a travel agent.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, we've had a Brazilian food with Arnie before at his place, or actually we had Cuban, but I think we had the little Brazilian cheese bread. What's that stuff called?
Pão de queijo.
Yeah, that stuff is the best. And it's funny. God, what airport were we at? Was that in Mexico where you could buy it at Starbucks?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so awesome. It's just this little bread, but it's like infused with cheese, and it's fantastic.
So what it is you take it's yucca flour, oil, eggs, salt, and cheese, but you got to use like hard cheese, like stinky Parmesan type cheese, or like hard, that cheese with a nice strong flavor to it, and you put all that. You make that into these little balls and you throw them in the oven, and it's pretty fantastic.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, I love it. Well, that and the Cuban pig is fantastic. What's the name of the pig?
Lechon.
Oh,
lechon.
They call it lechon in the Philippines too. But they do.
Well, yeah, that's funny you mentioned the Philippines, because I've had a lot of funny conversations with people from the Philippines, especially, we share a lot with the Filipino culture. The Latinos do.
Oh yeah, a lot of the words are similar. It's funny when I hear people speak in Spanish, I can pick up a lot of it, but I can't speak any of it to save my life.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Mike can speak some Tagalog from his time.
So here, this will make you laugh, Mike. So I have a good buddy of mine that's Filipino, and he was telling me, he's like, and I didn't know this. He said, well, when you're counting in Tagalog, 1 through 10 is the indigenous language, but once you get to 11, it's Spanish. That's right,
Pretty
isn't
much,
it?
Yeah.
Like it's 11, 12, 13, 14.
14, 15. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what he was saying that came from is, he said, well, before the Spanish arrived, nobody in the Philippines had more than 10 of anything. So then they had to invent these new numbers, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is all,
Yeah, well,
the indigenous language.
and they have. I mean, the indigenous language you can go all the way up as high the same, but everyone switches to Spanish just because it's pretty much the same. God,
awesome.
It's been so long since I've had to even think like that. But, yeah, no. A lot of similar stuff. Lechon in the Philippines, they do it on a spit. They don't use a pit or an oven or anything like that.
Yeah, we do. What Cubans do is they take a box, and the box has coals on top, and you take a pig and you kind of splay it out, and then you have, what it does is it cooks it pretty evenly with convection, but it allows the skin to crisp. So you have this I mean, it's the most phenomenal thing, because you have this crispy outside with this gooey pork, yummy deliciousness on the inside.
Yeah, it's not unlike like the cuchanilla in Spain.
No.
It's kind of that same idea with the real crispy skin and super tender inside, which is awesome. And actually, that's also, just speaking of Hawaii, that's not that unlike the way they do their Kahlua pigs here.
Yeah.
Except for they
bury them in banana
them.
leaves, I think. Wrap it up and steam it pretty much.
Yeah, actually, it was pretty funny. At the agency I used to work at, there was a guy married to a Hawaiian woman, and so he's really deep in Hawaiian culture. And he wanted to one year do like a Kahlua pig for the group of guys that we worked with. And so for the people who didn't know what he was up to, you just saw this guy digging a little hole out in the back, and then you just saw him like kind of take this thing, because it was all bound up and wrapped in
Burying
banana
the
leaves and stuff, and just kind of throw it in this hole. Yeah, and I mean, if you didn't know what he was up to, you'd think he was burying a body out there. So, anyways, kind of funny. So beyond just South America, Arnie goes into Europe also, and I wanted to talk to you about Germany specifically. My wife went there a few years ago. She spent a little time there, 2 or 3 weeks, and the one thing she didn't love about Germany was the food. Do you have any experience with the food over there? Did you find good food in Germany?
Absolutely. Food in Germany is I don't think we wouldn't have any. How do I explain this? So my favorite thing, and I generally just go to like southern Germany to Munich. They have something called a pork knuckle. Okay, so pork knuckle, it's not pig's feet.
Is that like a moose knuckle?
Well, I've never wanted to eat a moose knuckle, but a pork knuckle, it maybe.
Thanks, Ryan.
Ryan, do moose knuckles do it for you, bro?
It depends on the day.
So this pork knuckle, I think I'm not sure what cut it is, but it's like a pork shoulder. It's got a bone-in piece to it, and it's like kind of the outside skin, and it's cooked on a rotisserie. It's cooked on a spit. And so the outside of the skin part is super crispy, and then the inside is this like gooey, slow cooked, delicious, like soft pork meat. And you can get that in most places in Munich. If you go to like the what's that called? Hofbrauhaus. But they're also, they've got, great sausage and great breads. The breads down there are just phenomenal. If anybody were to tell me that you're not going to get any good German food in Germany,
Just
that's
probably not
just crazy.
knowing what to ask for or what you're just there's a tourist.
Well, and they're sort of known for bratwurst and spätzle and things like that. And so it's like, once you've had that, it's like, what's left?
But see, they do that. They do it so well, right? Because Germans just do everything they do is just perfectly done.
Yeah.
So if they're going to make beer, it's the best beer you've ever had. If they're going to make meat, sausage, it's the best one you're ever going to have. And when they mimic other restaurants, some of the, I've eaten at several restaurants in Munich especially. One of the best Japanese restaurants I've ever eaten at in my life was in Munich.
Interesting. Well, it makes sense, right? They approach everything with an engineering mindset.
Yeah.
So they've got a problem to solve, and they're going to solve it. So, but I will say we do have to dissuade a myth. We've long heard about Kona coffee.
Oh.
Just to bring it back to Hawaii and wrap up this show. So, first thing we did when we arrived to Kona, we went to the grocery store and we gathered up a bunch of groceries for the week. And one of the things we did is, we bought a bag of Kona coffee. Now, don't be mad, Polynesian guys, or anybody here in Hawaii. It is great coffee. I mean, as coffee goes, it's terrific coffee. But it's just good coffee. I mean, this stuff here is $30. Here in Kona is about $30 for 6 or 7 ounces of coffee. And it is good. But that's really expensive for coffee. You can get some pretty darn good coffees for that kind of dough.
Well, and you gotta remember, Ryan is quite the coffee. I wouldn't call you a coffee snob, but the guy knows his coffee. Him and his wife.
I drink a lot of coffee.
Him and his wife are coffee people. You can give them coffee at any time of the day, any point of the day, with any occasion, and the only thing that changes is if it's going to be cold or hot.
That part is
right. And,
didn't I get you started drinking coffee? Right?
Yeah. And so anyway,
didn't I get you started drinking coffee?
What's that?
Like you didn't drink it before. Yeah.
Yeah. You may have kicked it off because I think you started me on Starbucks down in Arizona when we were doing concerts down there and stuff because we didn't have one back home yet.
Sorry.
Yeah. So it's all Mike's fault. But I will say, go out, try yourself a little Kona. It's something you ought to do. And it's really smooth. It leaves your mouth kind of soft. It's a good coffee. Don't get me wrong. I think we maybe need to settle the hype down just a little bit. Give those South American guys a little more their due. Some of these other people.
And it's certainly not, I would almost say, to look and see the price difference. I'm not a huge coffee drinker, but if I'm going to look at a bag of Kona coffee, that's what was that one at the store? $54. One of them was like $50. And if I'm looking at that, and then I'm looking at the other bag that's
$7 it is.
You're like,
Yeah, and I'm not above springing for decent stuff. For good coffee. I think the stuff we get at Trader Joe's is maybe $20 for a tub of it, but it's really good coffee. But it's South American, whatever.
So I have a friend in Anacortes that had a coffee stand, and I was kicking at his house for a little bit, and he roasted his own beans, and got up one morning. He had coffee made. It was the best coffee I've ever had, and I've been trying to replicate that. I could never find anything similar. And so I pretty much.
If he's roasting his own beans, I got to tell you, that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Because even good coffee can be ruined by people overcooking or burning a shot.
I don't know. It was so
that happens a lot at Starbucks.
But.
Yeah. Well, and if you do coffee, Arnie, help me out. It's the little metal maker that they use in Europe. It's like a little percolator thing, but it's for espresso.
So that's how the Cubans make coffee. I think it's just the way that everybody else in the world makes espresso.
Yeah, I love it, and for me, it does a really good job. Keeps you from burning the espresso, and but it's kind of an antiquated thing. I've got to see if I can look up the name of the tool, though. I can't remember what they're called. It's this little metal coffee percolator.
Well, that's how my grandma used to make coffee, and her coffee pot the metal was actually black because of the coffee. And I don't know if that's scientifically possible, but she made so much Cuban coffee that it turned the metal black.
Now talk to me, though, about Cuban coffee, because Cuban coffee is a different thing, right?
Cuban coffee is a different animal. We could have a whole show where we just talk about Cuban coffee, because it is literally what is keeping the cocaine out of Miami, because so many people don't need cocaine because of Cuban coffee. If one day they got rid of all the Cuban coffee in Miami, people would just start doing cocaine, because it's about the same thing.
Just straight caffeine.
Oh, man.
Well, yeah, and Arnie was telling me that they serve it up in basically a shot glass or a thimble worth, because it's about all you need.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. But there's some other varieties like that, the Turkish coffees and stuff that are really interesting. But Kona coffee, give it a shot. But I think we need to settle down just a little bit.
Not worth the $50 price tag. I'm going to stick with my.
All right. Well, hey, let's wrap this thing up, man.
So
to get into sort of the plugs, everybody be sure to check out the Spotify playlist. We've got links in the show notes. To learn more about me, R2 Media Group in Spain or Salt Lake City, just visit us at r2mg.com, at r2mg on Twitter, or at R2 Media Group on Instagram.
Yep, and you can find me at djontic.com. That's ONTIC. Sorry for the bad audio quality today. We're going on Zencaster, and it's kind of been an interesting put together of we don't have the right mics for what we need and everything, so it's kind of been a little bit different.
Yeah, we don't have the right gear, but I didn't want to miss a show. So it was important to do it anyway. So hopefully everybody will tolerate the bad recording, and we'll be back in the States next week.
So check out
and then finally follow the show on eggscast.com and at Egg Show on Twitter and Instagram.
So, all right. Well, thanks. It was a pleasure to meet you, Arnie.
And with that, aloha.
Aloha, mahalo, all
from
that
Hawaii.
stuff they say.
Yep. All right. See you guys later.